Hey everybody, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to take a look at another Euro game. This time it's a game by Matthias Kramer called Kraftwagen. This is published by Blackfire and Spielworks Games, and this is a game about making cars. Making and racing cars for 2 to 4 players. The players are going to be taking actions on a modular rondel in order to try and improve their engines or bodies, or to race their car around the track, or to decide which people are going to buy cars in the market during the round. So real quick, why don't we take a look at what you're going to get inside of this box. We'll see how the game plays, and we'll come back at the end and get my opinions on Kraftwagen. So here you have the components for Kraftwagen all set up for a 3-player game. Now, if you've played a game like Glenmore, for example, this game is going to seem very familiar to you, and the action mechanism, the mechanism for taking actions, will seem very, very familiar from several other games that you might have seen before. But basically, in this game, players are playing car producers. They're going to be producing cars. They'll have one car that they can race in the Grand Prix. The other cars will be sold out to various potential buyers in order to try and earn points or money or whatever you might want to call it. So each player is going to start the game with their own tableau here. They have their Grand Prix car, which has a 1 engine in it, and then they have 3 garages where they can either keep engines or cars. They'll also start with 4 workers. They will have a marker out here to track their laps around the Grand Prix racetrack, and then they're going to have their action selecting marker out here on the board. Each player will also get, at the start of a game, one of these start game tiles, which will give them some type of benefit. It'll be some combination of actions. So, for example, this one here gives you a research, which lets you take a card, and gives you a 1 engine. And then it becomes a research point for bodies and engines, which will allow you to make better and body engines throughout the game. Other ones might give you a 1 body and a Grand Prix engine of 2, so that you can put an engine of 2 in your car and move further. But all of them eventually turn into a research point for a body and an engine. So different starting conditions there, but in the end it's really the same research and for body and engine later on. Now the idea of this game is that you're going to be taking actions on this modular rondel, which is out here. You'll see that all of these little circles are removable. They get set up with all of the 1 action pieces first, then all of the 2 action pieces, and then the only 3 action piece, and then players will be set up behind them. Now, each player is going to take their action, but they're going to take actions in the order of whoever's last in line will always be going first. That means that, for example, you could have a scenario where, let's just say this is the case and these had moved to the front. Yellow gets to move multiple times. They could take the last action and then move again because they're still last in line. So, on a player's turn, what they're going to do is they're going to pick up their piece and they're going to move forward to any one of the actions in the line. They can jump all the way forward if they want and take the 3 action piece, but that means they probably won't take an action for quite some time. Instead, if they want to just take the first action, they would place their marker there, move the little token to the front of the line, which now makes it the last action in line, and take their action. The various actions that can be taken are all printed onto this board and they're outlined beneath here. So let's cover them real quickly. Engine is going to let you take an engine from the supply equal to your current engine research, which at the start of the game will likely be 1. You would simply take that engine and you place it into one of your bays here. If the engine is of a higher value than your current engine, you can place it into your stock car, and that will make your car for the Grand Prix faster. Body is going to let you do the same thing, but with car bodies. So you can see those over here, ranging from 1 to 7. The higher your research in car bodies, the higher car body you can take, and this will be good for selling cars later. The next one here is going to be workers. It's a little round disc, and you'll see that at the start of the game you have 4 workers. When you land on this, you'll be able to take additional workers, and you'll see why those are important here shortly. So there's a supply of workers for each player off to the side that you would be able to take from in order to increase your worker pool. The next one is the Grand Prix spot, and on the Grand Prix spot, you're going to move spaces on this track out here, a number of spaces equal to your Grand Prix engine. So in this case, I have a Grand Prix engine of 1. I would move 1 space if I were to take this action. However, let's say my engine were higher, and I got a 3. Or let's say there were a car in my way already. Let's say that I'm blue and I take this action. Any space that I'm supposed to go to that there's a player on, I skip. So if my movement is 1 but I'm blue, it's not 1 and I rest here with green. Instead, I surpass him and I end up on 2. Going laps around this Grand Prix will allow you to earn victory points at the end of the round, 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, or more, depending on how many laps you complete. The research or wrench here is going to allow you to take one of these cards that's on the right-hand side of the board. These cards will have different benefits. Some of them may be more research points for your body, for example. This one, when you take it, requires you to put one of your workers on it permanently, but will give you an extra body research point, so the next time you take a body, it will be a better body. The instant ones here with the clock will let you get some type of action immediately. For example, take 3 workers. But others of these cards may have different benefits. For example, take a body and an engine immediately. Or go 5 spaces around the racetrack right now. Even more of these will be different types of car moguls or magnates or researchers, whatever you want to call them. This guy, for example, is Nicholas Otto, and he gets you 2 workers and a research immediately when you take him. Some of them will even get you benefits in the form of tokens. So over here, there are some tokens that give you +2 engine when you place a car out for sale. Could be plus body, could be the ability to use a 5th buyer, which we'll see here shortly, or a variety of other benefits that you can use at various points in the game. Moving forward, we see a lot of repeat actions. So workers and body, workers and research, workers and engine. The only action we haven't covered yet is placing out buyers, and that's this action that's only available on the double and triple spaces of our 2 and 3 action chits. When you take the worker action, or the buyer action, I should say, you're going to go ahead and move one of these buyers, and there's 4 different types of buyers, over to the first open spot of this column over here. When you do so, you're going to get any associated points that are with him, and these will accumulate throughout the game if they're not taken. So next round, if nobody were to take this buyer, there would be an extra one of these here, so it'd be worth 4 points. Now, each of these buyers will buy cars at the end of a round based on different criteria. This one wants the highest body. This one wants the highest engine. This one wants the one with the most workers placed on it. We'll cover that shortly. And this one simply wants the cheapest car, but pays double. So you can place those out as a part of these actions. And when you have 2 or 3 actions, you get to take all of them in whichever order you might like. After you've moved and taken your actions, you have the choice of selling a car or placing a car in the showroom. When you do so, you're going to need a body, you're going to need an engine, you will get to place any number of workers from your supply that you would like with that car, and finally you're going to set a price for it, which is these cards or tokens out here. So you would set all of those pieces out here with your workers on it and choose whatever price you would like. Now you want to set the price as high as possible for that car if you plan on selling it, based on the criteria of the workers that are, or the buyers that are selected, or the buyers that you plan on selecting to place out here. So if you're strong in bodies, you would want to put a high value body car out there with a high value on there. However, note that anybody else who competes with you in that, an equal body for example, but sets a lower price, will likely sell their car, as the second criteria these guys buy on is price. So first, highest body, second price, or first highest engine, second price. So each player's turn will consist of taking their actions, deciding whether or not, or whether they can, place a car out here, and then passing to the next player in turn order, which again could be the same player if they're last in line. This will go on until one of 2 things happens. Either a player will place the 6th car here, and that will cause the round to end, or once 4 workers have been placed here, 4 buyers I should say, the next thing that happens when somebody takes the buyer action is they must move this track down 1 space. So all of these will be full, and each time the buyer action is selected, this will move down 1 space. If it gets to 0, the round ends, and we go into an end round scenario. So how does the end round scenario work? Well, first you score the Grand Prix, and you look and see who's the furthest along number of laps, and then number of spaces along the track, and that person will get 7 points in these little things here. Second place will get 4, and third will get 2, and if you're in last place in a 4-player game, you get nothing. Then we will score all of the cars out here. So if this were the buyer scenario, let's just place these out here like this. These buyers will buy the highest valued car and body, then the highest valued car and engine, then the service award, or highest number of workers on a car, and then the second highest body, noting to always make sure to compare prices on cars so that you don't buy a more expensive car of the same value. Those players will get whatever numbers were associated with their car, and if there were any of the lowest value ones, they would get the same amount from the bank as compensation for selling a cheap car. You get double the value the bank supplies it. Once you're done with this and you've scored all of your points, everything here resets. So all of the buyers will reset. We would place out new victory point rewards out here, noting that the one that has one left will actually double. And we'll go on with another round. And basically you're going to play 3 rounds in this manner, trying to score points, sell cars, race in the Grand Prix, and get these bonus tiles, which I haven't yet covered. So there are some bonus tiles you can earn throughout the game. It could be for placing 2 cars into the market, or for placing the second one of a buyer into the buyer queue in the same round. For 4 or 7 engines being produced in your shop, or 3 or 6 cars, the value of car bodies or engines, for making 1 lap or 2 laps around the Grand Prix in the same round, or for getting all of your workers or 3 of the different car magnate cards into your supply. So these are worth 3 or 7 victory points respectively at the end of the game. So basically you'll play through the 3 rounds of the game. The second round, the car values for selling them will become more valuable, so you can place higher values on your car. But basically trying to sell those cars, do the Grand Prix, earn the victory points here, and of course increase the capability of producing cars throughout the game in order to see who can earn the most victory points, and that player will be the winner. And there you have it. That is Kraftwagen. Now, my feelings about this game. So I was really excited going into it because I love a lot of the stuff that Spielworks does. So things like, no, I'm going to draw a blank, but things like Arkwright, for example, are great games. Love it a lot. But this one fell a little flat for me, and I think it's maybe because I was expecting too much out of it. It is definitely lighter fare for what Spielworks usually does. Colon Colony, for example, a little bit heavier than this. But the idea behind this one of the modular rondel is clearly done before, actually by Matthias himself, who did Glenmore, and the game is very, very similar from that aspect in play. Now, of course, the outcome of that rondel is different. You're taking cards and you're building cars and things like that, but the feel is very, very similar to me there. The theme has been done before, of course, and that's something that's almost impossible to avoid. Automobile and Kanban or Kanban, however you want to pronounce it, have done this theme before. That's fine, but I just didn't feel like it added much new. The mashup of the modular rondel with the automobile type selling of cars, and then the need to not only place the appropriate car and price it appropriately with the appropriate buyer out there was somewhat interesting to me. I like that aspect. I like trying to manipulate that market to my benefit, but again, it's pretty light. So not that light is bad, but if you like Glenmore, I think this is going to fall in the realm of weight of games that you're going to like and maybe worth taking a look at. The Grand Prix, I tend to ignore it. It's worth a decent amount of points, but it's not worth enough for me to go to it too frequently unless I can get multiple laps out there, really move my car along. But I feel there's more points available in the buying of cars area than there is in the Grand Prix. So altogether, it's just a little light for my taste. I think the mechanisms are fine. I think the game is fine. I even enjoy playing it when I do play it, but it's just not something that's going to hit my shelf very often. It's not something that intrigues me too much. So I'd say for the lighter fare or medium fare of gamers, definitely check this one out. It's very, very similar to Glenmore, but I think that's a good thing in terms of its playability. So if that sounds good to you, check it out. That's Kraftwagen.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.